Ready, play.
Kicks off for day two. But starting off, we'll go to could be affectionately called it's called the John Cain Arena, but at this time of year it can be known as the Nick Kyrgios Arena, as he is going to be playing Jake Fernley, Britain's Jake Fernley. How do you think this match is going to go, Damien?
Well, my opinion on this is maybe slightly controversial, but I think it's actually a pretty tough one for Nick. We only saw him playing this, of course, two doubles matches with Novak, but also the Mpechi Pericard clash, which someone yesterday tried to tell me that was an incredible performance from Kyrgios and was bringing up the serve stats. I don't think you can say that, because this wasn't a tennis match. This was just them blasting serves at each other. And of course, Nick is going to be good at that. And it's both like the perfect comeback match because he's not going to be pushed physically, but at the same time, you want to be pushed physically when you're coming back. So I think Jake, especially if he finds his return timing, like the match against Eubanks in Canberra was a good example, where for a set and a half, he's just unable to do anything. But then he starts tuning into that, and it's actually one of his strengths generally. And then there's no really it goes to the deciding set, but he's always the one in front. He's always the one pushing for it. He is very all-rounded. I don't think there's any potential weaknesses that Nick can easily exploit in his game. So to me, this is what makes him a very tricky matchup here. And yeah, because of this, I think it's a very exciting match anyway. But to me, it's pretty clear that it would be a massive effort simply from Nick to, at this stage of his comeback, defeat Jake. But maybe he is ready for this massive effort. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and just say that I'm going to underestimate Nick Kyrgios or something like that. Obviously, he's a super talented player. But yeah, that's kind of like my opinion on this. And maybe in 2 months, I'm going to be saying, oh, it's easy Nick, right? I mean, he's just going to win it 6-4, 6-4. I don't know. But I don't feel like this at this point in time. I think there are opponents ranked much higher than Jacob Fearnley. That would be easier to play for Nick Kyrgios at the moment.
No, indeed. I mean, as for some of you who may have followed the Challenger circuit quite a fair bit, Fernley had one of probably the best season of any Challenger player last year. Would you agree, Damien, in terms of where he started to where he ended up finishing, or certainly up there with Leonard Tien and Vikish Bashas-Reddy.
Namir Jumhur, 6 titles. Yeah, I think it was a very clear conversation between Jumhur and Fernley for Challenger Player of the Year. Fernley had the win rate, Jumhur had the title count. Either way is fine for me.
Yeah, so Fernley, who started before his first title win, was ranked outside the top 500 in the world, went on a massive tear, winning 4 titles, and currently sitting around about 90 in the world. So had a huge run up, and is certainly going to be looking this season to be a main tour player and see how he can do on the main tour. Which, as a Brit, I'm excited to see. And of course, he came from the college route. Was a member of the TCU team that won the All-American title a couple of year ago. I think it was back in the summer. It's a stretch probably of my college knowledge going on there. So it's certainly you'd expect the John Cain Arena, which can be one of the most raucous arenas at the Australian Open. Hence the reason why we kind of nicknamed it. I kind of nicknamed it at the start the sort of Nick Kyrgios Arena, because it's a place that he's won a lot on, and it's a place that he loves to play tennis in. It's going to be an environment he's used to, and that's probably going to be one of the factors that is going to almost take away that advantage that Nick would have in this scenario, which is he would have the entire crowd behind him whenever Jake would be serving or Jake would be doing anything. The crowd will be doing their damnedest to try and just distract Jake. That actually it's going to be a place that he's going to really enjoy because he's going to be used to that environment, and will probably won't affect him as much as Nick would hope so. But as you say, I think Fernley's got a good serve, which is going to test Nick's return abilities, and as we know, Nick Kyrgios's returns aren't the best, even when he was at the height of his powers back in 2022, and coming off the back of the injury that he's had, and we've still got questions over his wrist and another part to do with his back. This is going to be a very tricky match for Nick, and in my brackets, I fully expect Jake to win. I could see this going maybe 4, maybe 5 sets. But I think Fernley's got the matches under his belt and the ability to really put Nick under all sorts of pressure. And it's going to be a while until Nick's probably back to any form that means that he could compete at the top of the game. I don't know what you think about that.
I mean, it is definitely a highlight of tomorrow's schedule. Like, you gotta give it to Nick in that sense. I also think that, I'm one of these people who think that villain characters are kind of needed in sport. Is he like my favorite villain character? Is he sometimes going over the line? Yeah. But if we had just like good guys, if at the top of the sport we have Yannick Sinner playing Felix Auger-Aliassime in every final, that's not exactly what you want to see. You have to have some sort of like opposite to that as well. And I mean, this is a match between two unseeded players. One of them is on a protected ranking. One of them is barely in the top 100. And yet this is the highlight of tomorrow's schedule, which kind of says it all.